Cause you got another white kid, 17-year-old, trying to tell another kid what to do. He felt like he ain't got to get up on the tent.
Do we denounce it? Do we disown it? Do we acknowledge it? Do we accept it?
I went through this, but I went through that. I went through this, I went through that.
God is not even in the sky. Guess what God is? God is in me.
I'm from the streets. It sound good. For Satan to deceive you, he gotta make like he gonna give you something.
Yo, welcome here to Off the Grid Network. It's your boy OTG Roll call. We've got a full cast with us right here today, and we're gonna make sure that we get right into it. Before we get started, I want to make sure that you guys understand exactly who you guys are blessed to have in front of you right now. We're gonna go ahead and start off all the way on my right, and first off, we have all the way out of Dallas, Texas, the pastor himself, Pastor Eli Bishop. What's going on?
Man, I'm just blessed, not stressed. I'm in here with some strong brothers trying to see the knowledge we're going to spit out to the people.
Of course. Now, we also, if we're talking about Texas, we can't forget the priest, the barber, the artist, the rapper who influenced different artists, including Lecrae, Trippie Lee, and The Truth. Please make sure you give it up for Dooney the priest.
Yeah, what's up, man? It's Dooney the priest, Dooney the barber, man. We off the grid. Y'all know what's going on, man. Shout out to DL man. Dallas Fort Worth.
Now, we got the love for Texas, but we are still in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
And we are in the studio with my business partner, my dog, my confidant, who's worked with Soulja Boy and had major hits that you probably heard online right now. Give it up for So Gotti.
That is, y'all. What's going on, man? It's your boy, So Gotti. Mr. Las Vegas, you know what I mean? We in the building, man. Y'all know the vibes. Let's go crazy.
All right, y'all. So let's go ahead. We're going to just jump right into it. There's a lot of controversy that's been going on in the news right now when it comes down to talking about Carmelo Anthony. Now, I don't think that everybody needs an in-depth recap, but when we're going to talk about it, this young man, he went to a track meet. He got into an altercation. After that, he sat and minded his business, and he was confronted by the same people he had an altercation with. And when he got into a fight, he ended up pulling out a weapon, and he protected himself and stabbed that individual, and is facing 30 years in prison. What are your thoughts on that?
Go ahead, huh? I mean,
No, go ahead, bitch.
No, I want to hear your thoughts. I'm going to fall back on
But I don't really have too much to say about that. I can just say this, that being from the area of where it happened, because it's on the outskirts of DFW, and at some point it's in a different county, and so it's populated by mostly white people. So even the jury store, it looked like the community basically. So it's a melting pot out in the area when it comes to the Colony, Frisco, Plano. You know what I'm saying? Going toward Little Anna. You know what I'm saying? Those are a different type of mindset of people. So I would just wrap it up to say this, that being from Texas, that we've seen a lot. I'm a 70s baby, so I've seen racism at its finest, and I've seen it evolve from me being a child. But I can say this, that when it comes to justice, that black people now then got to the point to where we look at justice, you know what I'm saying, to see that if it's going to be equal to everyone now. So we don't riot no more or burn our communities down when we see injustice in the system. We're a little smarter than that now. So we attack it from the knowledge perspective now and holding everyone accountable to the amendments and equal rights. And so I would just say this, that it's a very controversial subject. And I would like to just say it's unfortunate that incident happened. And so I'm going to fall back and say, as the priest, I'm praying for both sides of the family. I'm praying for Carmelo Anthony, you know what I'm saying, and peace be up on them. And I'm done. But we have an expert over here, my brother. He's an expert at that.
I know expert.
He's very close to the case.
Well, let me say something, to those that are listening. First of all, I hear people say justice, no peace. Well, there's no peace because there's no justice. But anytime you look at 12 juries and you see one, people say among your peers do not mean your color, but it's saying people in that era of that geographic neighborhood. I learned that people always speculate. People are driven by their emotion. So when you see people who speak on something that they don't have facts in, then first of all, you got to see, have you been shaped by the system? What is the system? The system controls the mind. The system already plants seeds in your head and water it down with lies. And so when you see that a young man got killed, a Caucasian young kid, and then the first thing they did, they dressed the picture up. They give the boy no opportunity, even if he was right or wrong. They already said he did. He was a murderer. He's a thug. He's a gangster. But when you do the evidence, when you see that the boy is a straight-A student, he got 2 jobs, never been in trouble. So therefore, we got to do some more investigation because it don't make sense. I never seen a thug. I never seen a gangster with a straight-A student. I never seen that before. I lived that falsified life. I used to pretend to be the gangster. I had bad grades too. So, but I'm trying to tell you guys that when you see a situation like this here, you got to know what a bully is. If you never been bullied, you don't know then you'll speak on something that sound good. Somebody said, well, when the boy came up to him and told him to move 15 times, I think that after it got past 3 times, then the bully step in. Because you don't tell nobody to move from under 10. First of all, it was 2 black boys. Say it was a black boy to tell another black guy. Y'all already know y'all talking about black on black crime. And he telling them get from under 10. That's going to be a problem anyway because just another kid telling another kid what to do. Now let's dress it up from reality. Here come a white kid telling a black kid get from under the tent. Y'all know we ain't in 1902. Yeah, let's be real. This 2026. First thing going to come in the most average black kid mind. White boy, who you think you talking to? Let's be real. Okay, but now here's the situation. People say why he didn't move. First of all, why he didn't get no authority. Why he didn't tell the coach who said, hey, stand up. So if you want to lay it out, I just don't like the fact that you said this kid is a murderer. What is a murder? A murder is somebody who premeditate and to take a human life without no justification. And so that's a murder. I don't think this is a murder case. I think this was a case that caused a young man to make a bad decision out of fear. Because if he didn't fear, I'm going to tell y'all where the fear was. Because when he was sitting down, you got somebody coming up to you telling you he finna get you from under 10. You sat there. It's a sign that you don't want no trouble. It's a sign that you're not no gangster. It's a sign that you allowed him to make a move on you first. So he get in his space. And whatever happened, they said 4 boys jumped him. I didn't see the video. Then some said he touched him. He snatched him up. Regardless how it went, you in my face 15 times telling me to get up, and I don't get up, then that's a bullet statement. Watch this here. Then his brother testified he snatched the bag. He said ain't nothing in that bag. This Frisco. Y'all ain't in the hood. This ain't nobody out here, no gangster. So he snatched the bag just in case he felt like he had something in that bag. So it's already self-defense, and I'm going to tell you why. Because when he snatched the bag, say it was a gun in there. Say the weapon was in there. Then he have the ups on Karmelo. But Karmelo already slipped the knife out in his hand. So he went to attack him by snatching the bag. The reason why the brother didn't testify, because all this would have came out in the court. So the DA is smart, but the lawyer was dumb. The reason why the lawyer was dumb, because he didn't do a good investigation. He didn't put out the right chips. So that's the reason why Karmelo in the situation that he in, because he was represented by somebody who already walked into the case with fear. And so there's a lot of challenges, man. There's a lot of things we can say, but I can say this here, that I wish Austin would have made a better decision by going to get somebody with some authority instead of trying to act like he's tough or a gangster. I'm just being honest. Then we won't be in this situation. I give sympathy for a life being taken. Nobody glorified in. I hear some blacks talking about that's what the white boy get. Nah, I don't believe in that. I just think that a bad decision causes a life to be taken. Mm-hmm. And if you look at it real good, y'all know good well that boy ain't no murder. Y'all know that. Y'all know that boy was sitting down when he walked up to him. He had the ups on him when he's standing over him, sitting down. The only thing he told him, just don't touch me. You can tell me you're going to do this, long you don't touch me. And he gave him a warning. real murders don't warn you. I'm finna come kill you. They just do it. But he was trying to get him up off of me. He was trying to hope that he gone on by his business. But instead, then y'all say ain't no kids put out no camera. Anytime something going on, everybody put out their camera. Your grandmama, your daddy, everybody. Somebody was filming something. But what the system did, they got all the kids' camera and they looked through it. Anything they saw that can contradict the case, they didn't bring it to the judge.
That's their job. They're gonna do that, and it's unfortunate because right now we've seen this law doesn't go for us both ways. Of course, this is a stand your ground state, but it didn't apply to this young man.
Not at all.
Those same laws didn't apply. People say don't make this about race, but that's how the law made it. So it's not that we're trying to make it that. We're just calling it out for what it is. If everybody says that they want to be woke, they're not sleeping, they can recognize what's going on. So let's just talk about it and recognize exactly what we're seeing. When I was 17 years old, I went to a track event, and it was called the Relay for Life. We went out there, and we were sleeping in tents. Everybody slept on the field in their tents. In the middle of the night, somebody got up and started kicking our tent over and over again. So it's all of my people inside. We already know we can get out this tent. We can go fight everybody right now. But then what? Now we in trouble. We're not fighting because we all trying to stay out of trouble. There's somebody in there that's not black, and they like, yo, I'm getting mad. And the people outside the tent kept yelling until, our one individual that wasn't black got out and yelled and then started pressing them. And then when they seen a group of, niggas get out the tent, then everybody was like, whoa, 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 whoa. Now they like, okay, so y'all must have been peaceful because we was going through that for 30 minutes to an hour where they kept kicking our tent. And no one jumped in, no one intervened or anything, but we got kicked out. Wow. So we had to get removed from that event, and then we were banned. We weren't allowed to go ever again to there. And it's an unfortunate thing. And in this situation, of course, people would easily say, what would happen if it was in reverse? If he would have been the one that was antagonizing and he would have been the one that got stabbed, this wouldn't even made major news.
Or if he would have had a whole black
he would have been the one that didn't get charged with anything. He would have been the one that didn't get in trouble. That's
exactly.
What every single time.
Exactly.
And
Metcalf would have.
And both Bishop say something. What I like about
they said it was his fault. They would have said it was Carmelo's fault.
And what I like about what Bishop was about to say, Bishop is the pastor of the father too.
Yeah.
And so he's real close to the family too, where he can speak on it because he's on the inside, looking out instead of people on the outside looking in. Because we got so many people just speaking their opinions and their assumptions and what they think, what they read, what somebody told them. But here, the reason he can speak so passionate about this particular case or the situation because he's up close on it.
And here's the sad part: you meet the young brother, man, the young kid. He's a yes sir, no ma'am, little kid, man, and it's amazing. People say, "Why you just didn't fist fight?" Everybody can't fight. Y'all play too much. Everybody ain't from the hood. He from Frisco.
So you've had conversations with this young man?
Yeah. Well, I know his daddy. His daddy come to my church. His daddy talked to him. I got a text message where the whole case we telling them about certain things dealing with the case. I even told him that when he go to trial, let your son take the stand because if you don't, they're gonna judge him by what we say about him. They're gonna judge him by what the police say, what the kids that's already on Metcalf side because we're on the same team. They're gonna judge you by what everybody else say. So I told his dad, I said, if you respect me as your pastor, if you love me, I said, let him take the stand. He said, well, I don't know. I got to talk to the lawyer. I said, no, the lawyer, your son don't have a record. Mm-hmm. If he had a record like me, no. Hey, boy, you sit down. Let me speak for you because they're going to bring up everything. When you ain't got nothing to hide, man, you got to get out there and speak for yourself. I think that the first mistake that they really made with the lawyer in the family, they didn't allow Karmelo say what happened. And all that talking about, well, he's 19, he ain't gonna be able to deal with all that. Listen, I got locked up when I was 17. Don't play that. I'm a grown man in my mind. I'm out here in these streets. Don't try to get these kids and treat them like a baby. That's not what it is. I think that if he had spoke for himself, they would have saw different by giving him 35 years. I'm just gonna be honest because he would have showed that he didn't mean it. You gotta remember when he first the boy got stabbed, he said, "Oh, he'll be all right." Then he come back and asked the police, "Is he okay?" Gangsters don't do that. He made a mistake because he seen 4 boys coming towards him, and he put out a weapon to try to protect himself. But when you talking about the stand-up law, in Texas, man, it's not designed for everybody. It was designed for certain people. Let's be real.
Yeah.
If you look at the young man that ran out the store and they shot him in the back of the head, chased him out the store and killed him. When you look at the young guy that ate those, had them little Skittles candy, and the man,
Trayvon Martin.
yeah, and he killed them, and it was justified on the stand your ground. Yep. Stand your ground law. Come on, y'all got to stop playing. And so, but when we look at reality, when it come down to a young black male, he better have his stuff together. And not only he have his stuff together, he better almost let them kill him, halfway kill him, then defend himself. Because if you try to get the ups up on the person that could take advantage of you first, they gonna say, hey, you should have waited till the same kind of pressure. No, so I gotta wait till somebody get a gun before I use the same kind of pressure. Come on, man. I'm not gonna wait on you to shoot your gun for me to be able to shoot my gun. If I feel like you going to grab something and you should hurt me, I'm going to automatically, my nature going to make me defend myself. And the brother did not go to school looking for trouble. People said, well, why did he not move from unintent? Why did Anthony leave him alone and go get some authority? The reason why he didn't move from unintent, because you got another white kid, 17-year-old, trying to tell another kid what to do. He felt like he ain't got to get off unintent. You're a kid like I am. Who you to tell me to move? So that's why another time kids could be laughing, playing, say, oh, he's been trying to make you move. You don't know what is his pride, his ego, whatever it is. He's not going to listen to somebody that's his age. So then he's going to say, he just barely touched him. He grabbed him. Regardless of what, just getting in his space, standing over him is a threat. He waited till he touched him. Some kids ain't going to wait on you to touch him. When you get in my space, I'm going to get in your face. It's just that simple.
So I want to ask you, Bishop, what can we do, or what do you think you would advise for them to do moving forward within these results that are being talked about right now?
I think that what we have to do, teach our kids, first of all, before they get in the problem, teach them how to deal with the problem.
Okay.
And first of all, you got to deal with this young pride out here. And people got pride. I see kids every day walk around with their ego and their pride on their shoulders. So I think that you got to educate your kid. When somebody bring you problem, get some authority. Go to authority. That's where you won't get yourself in a situation where you got to get yourself out of it. And so there's a lot of things that we said what we could do. But first of all, as a black people, I'm going to be honest, man, we got to start with ourselves, man. Even Jesus went to the lost house of Israel first. You're not saying that's the only people you deal with, but you can't help nobody else. You can't help your own self. And one of the biggest things that I don't like about black people, and I'm just going to be real, a lot of pastors ain't like me. They preach behind the pulpit. They get your money on Sundays, but they don't want to get out there and valid with you. They don't want to save souls. They don't want to get out there and wake you up. They sitting up here talking about God gonna bless you. How he gonna bless me? By blessing you. Y'all play too much. God gonna bless me because my people perish because of lack of knowledge. We need knowledge. Let this mind be in you was also in Christ Jesus. We need another mind, because the mind that we in now, we confused. Anytime you hurt your own brother, anytime you don't stand for your brother. And a lot of times, should have been a lot of preachers out there, should have been a lot of people out there. I'm talking about marching, about to tear that place down, letting them know, hey man, as a people, you know what I'm saying, we got to take a stand for something, because if we don't, this ain't the first case, and ain't gonna be the last case. And so, we got to get back to a point. We got to start with ourselves. And no excuse talking about what the white man did. The white man did a whole lot of stuff, but what is the black man doing?
So how do these? What is the church trying to help out the community look like? Well, so what is it like, and where does it stop? Does it stop because of classism? Does it stop because you're not a part of the community of the church? Does it stop because of a region?
You're not giving. Well, I think that a lot of times we cater to people who give money. We cater to people who look like they got it all together. But Jesus said, if the least of them, we got to learn how to realize all souls matter to God. All souls are valuable. And anytime you have the wrong motive, you're going to get for the ghost of the soul. So a lot of time, even in preaching, we got to be careful. That's why we keep that thorn in our flesh. We can get lifted up in pride. When the people go to clapping, it make us feel like some type of God. So we got to be careful with that, because we're a servant. The people don't supposed to serve us. We supposed to serve them. And so many people sitting in the seat of Moses, and they misinterpret the gospel. They misinterpret the Bible. Same way they twist the Bible and say, I'm your master, you my slave. Same way they teach it wrong, they doing the same thing. You got prophets coming in saying, God said this, God said that, and God ain't said none of that stuff. Because if God want to talk to you, he'll talk to you through his word. You don't need another priest to talk to you, because you are the priest. God talked to you himself. God got rid of all the game that's in the priesthood. God got rid of all the hustling. You can go to God yourself through Christ Jesus.
I agree with everything that you're saying on that. The only thing that kind of throw me off is when you say God going to talk to you through that word, because that word has been manipulated. It doesn't mean that the word does not still have its power, because God is still speaking through it. I just think that there's a lot of the word that has been manipulated for personal gain. And that's what's very unfortunate. These are the things that are turning everybody away from the church right now, and also feeling like the church isn't there for the community. But what you're speaking of is something that I think is necessary for everybody to get back into the church if the community is going to be taken care of. Go ahead.
You said it been manipulated. They manipulating everything. When you talk to a pimp, he tell his girl, he said, look here, baby, let me show you how to get some money. Then you bring that money to him. We both gonna live good. I'm gonna show you how to take this money. Anytime a man can talk a woman in laying on her back and bring him the money, that means she's small-minded. It's a lot of small-minded people. And so therefore they draw up a good game. They sound real good. You got preachers that preach a good sermon but can't live a sermon. So this is what I'm saying. That when you
can't have preachers with pimp game mentality.
They don't live what they preach. But here's the thing. Because man do wrong, don't judge God's word for it. Because man try to twist the word, don't judge God's word. The Bible said, work out your own salvation with fear and trembling. You got to know God for yourself. If you don't know his voice, then what voice do you listen to?
That's right.
Then therefore the Bible said the day you hear the voice of the Holy Ghost, harden not your heart. So a lot of time when I was in the church, I didn't believe in God. I got to learn God in prison. I studied Islam, next year Islam 5%. I studied all of the religion. But what made me go to Christ, there's two types of religion. You got one that's under liability, and you got one that's under full cover. Liability is Judaism, liability is Islam. That means I go to God through the law. If they choose to get, you can get any kind of insurance you want. You can go and get liability. But people that get liability insurance got to drive very careful, because if you hit something, they don't pay your car. They pay the other person's car, but your car is wrecked up. I told full cover because through Jesus, if I make a wreck or a mistake, I know I can get in through him because he died for my sin. A lot of people don't even know the atonement, what atonement means. And then you got a lot of people talk about the knowledge, the missing books, the Israelite. Everybody say they're right, but the Bible said there's many books. Let's come to the conclusion of man to fear God and keep his commandments. And so as a little boy like me from the hood, from the ghetto, I ain't heard about no God. You know what I'm saying? Most preacher, and God said, they getting people happy, but they ain't changing. You know what? What put a stain on my brain? I had to go through something. I had to lose my mama in prison. You know what I'm saying? My mama came down on Michael unit where I was locked up for 40 years. So my mama had counsel. So when she came to visit me in that visit room, she said, Mama ain't going to be here when you come home. My mama apologized for all the stuff we went through as a kid. And me looking my mama in the eyes, I made a vow to her. I told her I'm going to give my life to God. She said, promise, Mama, you're going to get out of prison. I said, Mama, I got 40 years. She said, God can do anything. God showed me that he's going to get you out of prison. He's going to use you. And the same thing, the words that she spoke into my life, it was fulfilled because she believed in me. And watch this here. God had to allow me to go through that process because nothing else can get my attention but my mama. That's why the Bible said all things work together for the good of those that love God and called according to your purpose. You got to know your purpose. If you living and don't know your purpose, you just living passing time. If you think your purpose is just to shine, to get money, to make yourself feel like you're God, you misrepresent the Creator because he didn't create you to make you a monster. He didn't create you to make a name for you. He created you to make a name for him. And so a lot of time we want to make a name for ourselves. That's why we don't care about stepping on another brother. That's why we're not loyal to one another. That's the reason why the world is divided, because everybody's self-seeking. And when you listen to these churches, remember that they preach self. God gonna give you a house. God gonna give you a car. Touch your neighbor and tell them my blessing coming. All that is self-message. That's not real message. So God said, I got to give some hood folk. He said, I got to go to the girl that's a Samaritan. He went and got a whore. Watch this here. He got a woman who went and slept with 6 men. Why did he choose her? He said, out of your belly shall flow living water. If you never been through nothing, baby, you're not going to feel my pain. You're not going to understand. If you never been through a struggle, how you going to minister to me? Your light's never been cut off. You don't know what it's like to be hungry. You don't know what it's like to be raised up without a father. You don't know what it's like when things happen in your household that nobody know about. So when you preach to me on my level. Let me hear my own language. If I don't hear my language, you ain't saying nothing. You can't move me by telling me some good stuff. I'm from the streets. It sound good. For Satan to deceive you, he got to make like he going to give you something that's going to benefit you.
Exactly.
And sometimes when you tell people the truth, it might hurt. There's a lot of things that my mama told me before she died I didn't receive back then. But she did tell me one thing. She said, I don't know how God going to do it, but if you trust him, he'll show you a way out. So that's my power. I chose to go through Christ. I don't knock other religion, but I chose to go through Christ because that would work for me. That would give me a peace of mind.
My bad.
No, go
I've
ahead.
had people ask me. They said, "Why does Jesus only appear to you?" I said, "Jesus didn't appear himself to me. I had to go find Jesus."
Well,
I said, "I had to go there and I had to go make that discovery." And people were talking about like what passages was it in the Bible that made me have my turn. Now I did my devotions. I read the Bible for many years, front to back, cover to cover. What ended up happening was some of the most prevalent moments in my life was kind of like what you said when your mother told you God can do anything. And that is the newest testament in your life.
there you go.
That is a verse that you're talking about. That's a miracle
the
that you went
67
through.
book, your book.
There
got a
you
book
go.
Too. And so God know how to meet us where we at, man.
Right.
And sometimes people judge you for where, like I was talking to my brother on the end.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? People can look at his swag and try to judge him and see his weakness and try to say, hey, you don't know God. The Bible said we as offspring, God is not far from any one of us. We just got to make up our mind when we choose to serve him and let him have his way.
Amen.
The problem is with us, we always want to judge people. And I'm not talking about judging and saying, hey, man, you doing this wrong. Two men sleeping together. That's not judging. That's a fact. God said it's abomination. That's not judging. Judging is when I see you and I judge you and say you ain't no good. You ain't that. You ain't this. You don't know God. That's judging you because I don't know your heart. You know what I'm saying? When I look at your tattoos, I judge you. I condemn you. God ain't worried about your tattoo. He's stronger than the tattoo. He ain't worried about your jewelry. He ain't worried about your gold and your
You know what the crazy thing is? People be talking about the tattoos because of the Bible verse in Leviticus that's telling everybody not to get their tattoos.
1928.
Exactly.
But they forgot about 27.
Exactly. Talking about
Let go.
trimming your hair, trimming
Talk
your
about
beard,
it.
But let's
trimming
go to
your
the
goatee,
Let
trimming
go.
your
Let's
mustache.
go to
Let
the
go.
tattoo. You got to know what Christ did. He said, man judged on the outside appearance, but God judged on the heart. Let me tell y'all something. He said, what defile a man? Not what goes in him, but what comes out of him. So a lot of times we don't understand the covenant. We don't understand what the blood do. We don't understand that a lot of rules and authority don't change. A tattoo don't stop you from lust. A tattoo don't stop you from cussing. Y'all play too much. So you got to deal with your inner man, not your outer man. Then when your inner man get right, then your outer man will line up right. Let me tell y'all something. If a woman walk around naked, now people say come as you are. She's supposed to come in the church naked. What do you mean? That's the knowledge she got. Ain't nothing been downloading her. If you don't put nothing in your computer, you're not going to gain nothing. So you put her out, but she don't know no better. You can't do better if you don't know better. So a lot of times, people judge people by their condition. Now, let me tell you.
I don't think that she should be told to leave, but I think that if the church has different clothes to assist her, so that way it's not a distraction
let me
to
say
the
this,
message,
and that's true.
I think it helps. Because if a guy comes in there with a plate of cocaine and someone's fighting a cocaine addiction, I'm not going to say you can't listen to the word of God, but you can't bring that plate in
That's
here.
right. Well, you can't watch the even when the man that was demon possessed, the Bible says he was clothed in his right mind. They put some clothes on them. So we're not saying that you don't cover them, but we're saying that you don't use that as a tool to make them feel inferior.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I tell people all the time, bring all the whores in my church. I like whores. They look at me crazy. Bring all the pimps. Bring all the drug dealers. Why? Bring the gays. What do you mean? Bring the straight. Bring them all. Why? Because the power of God don't manifest until he overcome that weakness. He said, now weakness, my strength is made perfect. Your God ain't got no strength if he can't change me. You can talk about it. I see a lot of people talking about what their God is and what they believe in and how spiritual they are, but they still got the same behavior. They still got the same attitude. They still hate. They still hate their brother without a cause. The Bible said, what is a real murder? One that hate a brother without a cause. There's a lot of people saying they're a Christian. Even Carmelo Anthony, his dad didn't say they're a true Christian. Jesus on the cross and said, Father, forgive them for what they know, not what they do. Christians don't get revenge. We don't say, hey, I want him to die because he killed my son. We ask God to save his soul. We ask God to have mercy on him. We don't want to talk that language because we want revenge. He said revenge is mine, but we don't want to talk like that. Don't give me this Christian talk when you're not walking. Don't give me this Christian talk when you ain't trying to practice.
Right.
Everybody, I'm an ex-gangster. You think I don't feel like going off sometimes? I have guys disrespect me. I have guys owe me money. You think I don't want to go and get in my flesh again? Every day I got to get in my word. Every day I got to pray. Because what? I can't let that old man reach back out and pull me out the grave and get me back out doing stuff.
And what happens when you do go back into your flesh? Now they say everything you said was a lie.
Yeah,
you a hypocrite.
Yeah, you're a hypocrite. So it's a challenge. It's a challenge, which I ain't trying to impress man, but that's why I'm a different kind of preacher. People tell me why I'm on a broadcast with you guys. You know how many preachers dial my phone when they see me on these different networks. They say, you're a real preacher. Why you there with these guys? Let me tell y'all something. You don't know the Bible. Jesus said he went to the sinner. He said, who need a person that is righteous don't need a doctor. So I got to go where where the pastors won't go.
Where they
Real
sit.
pastors go to the
Amen.
valley and the highway.
Yeah.
Real pastors don't act like he better than other people. Because why? I've been there. Not because I'm in God.
Well,
but I'm still in struggle.
why is God gonna go around a bunch of people who don't need to be fixed?
Don't make no sense.
In their mind.
That's right.
When at the end of the day, a bunch of gangsters, a bunch of motherfuckers that like us, we know we need help. That's why at the end of the day, God didn't go to a bunch of motherfuckers who in their head knew that they didn't need shit. He went to people who needed help.
Come on. Just
Yeah.
that simple.
They reached on his robe. When Jesus walked through the crowds, they grabbed on his
was,
robe because they
Watch
needed
your
help.
doctor go to somebody that's well.
I'll say this much: like, I done been through a lot of shit in my life. I done. Look, I'll say this much: I was raised with God's word and all that my whole life, and I'll be real with you. I've done everything, Pastor. What you're sitting in right here, I've done all this. I built all this. I built this with sweat, tears, and blood, and getting fucked left. Excuse my language. I'm gonna speak to you how I talk. I know, I'm gonna just talk to you. You know what I'm saying?
There's no judgment.
Yeah, I've been fucked over left and right. I've been all sorts of, and you know what? There's been so many times where I caught myself wanting to do something and wanting to crash out. But you know what? The same people that have fucked me, I could look at them in the same room and not even trip.
Let me tell you why.
And I don't take with all the shit that I done been through in my life, bro. I learned to drop ego a long time ago, bro. I learned to drop, but then again, I'm 39 years old. I learned to drop ego like when I turned 30. I learned to start dropping my ego.
Can I say something real quick? Because I know I got to get out of here. I'm gonna say something that's real valuable to you. First of all, when we grow and we get older, we see things different. Like that 17-year-old, he didn't see what we see. Right. He didn't know that he could have sat there and just it's gonna cause him more. It's gonna cause him more than his ego and his pride can ever give him. Yeah. But let me tell you something. You learn to overlook your pride and your ego because there's a lot of people you done let it come in here get free
that's
time.
What I was gonna say.
Get free time. They don't pay you. You got guys that hating on you for a certain different reason. Then all of this, you done escaped death. So watch this here. Anytime you go through all the things you went through and God kept you because you got a purpose, why God want to use people like you? He said, I got a fold that you know not of. If I'm going to listen to anybody, I got to listen to somebody I can identify myself with. And the reason why you don't go and crash out because you're a man. You ain't got to prove nothing to nobody. So every day you try to walk straight. Every day you try to not. It take one mistake can cause you everything you built. You can cause a fool that owe you a few crumbs in a few chain and cause you lose everything you built. So don't let nobody play you off the street because you have purpose. Even when you say your mom taught you, I want to say this to you. It's a purpose because she loves you. She don't say things just because she's trying to take you out of your element. But she telling you stuff because she loves you. But watch this here. I learned that when you got purpose, God got a way to meet you where you at. But the main thing that you got to understand, don't let nobody play you off the streets. Don't let nobody label you and control you and make you make action that you didn't want to do on your own. Mm-hmm. Anytime a nigga will pull you down from where he at, how you gonna be up and let somebody pull you down? Don't make sense.
Anytime that situation that never happened to me, bro, I done sat there and been like, yo, you gotta sit here and we can't conversate we have to go back and forth and we gotta communicate. And I done been able to get situations. Like, I'll be real, one of my homies the other day was up in here and started crashing out. And I was looking at him, I was like, are you crashing out because you can't just have a conversation and go back and forth? How are we supposed to communicate if you can't listen?
He crashing out because he's falsified. You know what I'm telling you about people? I used to be that fake gangster. I used to be that one trying to impress another man. So a lot of times you be seeing these guys that mentally, they fool themselves. You ever seen Denzel Washington do that movie? When he said, I'm the gorilla. I'm the king.
I'm King Kong.
I'm King Kong. And he started spitting everything. Mentally, he lost it. Mm-hmm. He imagined himself actually what a cop do. Man, if you don't watch your mind, you will transform yourself into a person that you really don't want to be. And when that person gets you out of line, I hear people talking they're gangsters. I watch guys talking they're gangsters, and it tickled me to death because I watch those same guys come to prison get turned out. I see them get raped. I see them give it up. So don't tell me you're a gangster. Watch that. Anybody can kill But it take a man to say, hey, brother, I ain't got no problem with you. You know what I'm saying? Ain't
Talk
going on with
about
that.
it.
It take a man to tell another man, calm down. Watch the shit though. Most of these guys that walk around acting like they tough, anybody that make the most noise in the room is the weakest. Don't never let them fool you.
Amen.
Anytime somebody get loud, it's because they don't understand who they is. So if I'm trying to impress you, I gotta talk loud. I gotta talk. No, I'm built like that.
Yeah.
You ain't built like that because if I
Yeah.
think you, you're in trouble. It's about who I think one another. You'll kill me like I kill you, but if I thank you that day, you in trouble. So it ain't about nobody scared of nobody. And I keep hearing people say the OGs. I consider you consider me an OG, but I ain't no OG. Let me tell you something. It ain't no OGs no more. You gotta put in new work every day. You know why? Because these youngsters don't even respect themselves. They don't respect their mama. They don't respect their dad.
They morals.
And so
They
they
lost
ain't gonna
respect.
respect you.
Hey.
So OG, forget that OG. If you ain't putting
Okay.
on new work, set your OG self down somewhere. Because these youngsters ain't paying no attention. Only
Amen.
thing that's gonna straighten them up, God or a bullet. Come on, somebody.
That's what I tell people.
And so ain't no more OG. Go get the OG. What the OG gonna do?
If you trying to keep up on your health and you got to go get checkups on everything, it's time to leave that gangster life in the past, man. If you getting prostate exams, why you still banging in the streets with these youngins that just graduated? What's wrong with y'all?
Your butt bleeding.
Right.
Your butt bleeding, and you run around talking about
You got polyps out
Come
here.
on,
You
man.
got like hemorrhoids.
Run
Come
around the
on.
corner. You got a rag. Hey man, when you gonna grow up and be a man? Stop trying to be a boy. We ain't talking about you doing it with that rag. We
No,
know
it's-
that represents something else. I know he looked at me. He looked at me cross-eyed. I ain't talking about
But
you.
them that
man.
don't know the rag just represents.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
Where I
man. Yeah,
came
yeah.
from.
That's
You know what I'm
right.
saying? From the street.
But
That's
listen,
it.
y'all.
I've been
Listen,
delivered. But
real
you're right.
talk.
Y'all are
I gotta
definitely
catch
correct.
this flight. Listen,
Okay.
man. Listen. It's good. I'm looking here, man. I love you guys.
Keeping
man.
it
We
real,
love you,
man.
Bishop.
Hey,
keep it
that,
real.
all y'all do, keep praying for me, man. Hope that
We will.
my story, my word, put me in a place to help somebody else.
And we're
You
gonna
know
be
what I'm
praying for that
saying?
Anthony
Ain't
family
got-
as well.
I ain't got all the answer, but I do have one answer, man. If you try Jesus, man, he's for real, man.
That's
How do
right.
I know?
Yeah.
I ain't telling you because somebody told me a story. Man, he changed me. Anything can change me got to be greater than
From
me.
personal
So
experience.
that's a personal experience. So
Right.
your God can be whoever you want him to be, but make sure your God do something that you can't do for yourself, and that's save you from yourself. Because your worst enemy is not the person beside you, but it's you. And if you don't make positive decisions, you will make a negative decision that you can't change.
Amen.
Amen.
Hey, well, we thank you, Bishop.
Man,
We're
I
gonna
love
have
y'all, man. I gotta catch this plane.
Go ahead,
My
man.
brother,
Hey.
still flying.
we're gonna have a quick word from Big Homie CC.
I'm going live tonight on YouTube, man. And I got some very, very dope content about to drop, so stay tuned. I got y'all. Fight evil, protect women and kids. Thank y'all for so much. I'm good. Melanin popping, phone them grade. I look healthier. I was just going through it, boy.
One thing I tell people constantly is if you read the Bible, you've never heard the devil curse God. You've never heard the devil say nothing crazy to God. Devil's punishment with God is because of his pride. If the devil dropped his pride, he would be accepted into heaven. And I think that blows everybody's mind if they really have to think about that. All he would have to do is ask for that forgiveness. He's never went around and just said F God or any of this or called God a bitch. He never went out of his way to say none of that we've heard on record. However, that pride is that important to the devil, and that's why he's still acting in that way. So I think it's important to talk about dropping the pride and understanding how you can have your relationship with God, that it doesn't need a structure from someone else telling you how you communicate with God. I want to just find out what you guys' insights are on that.
I think that pride comes from people telling you that you have rules with religion. So you have rules, and you can't do this, and you can't do that, and this is why this, and this is why that, and you can only get religion if you're listening to me when I talk, and this is your... All that is the reason why pride comes, because people don't know what to... Well, if I can't do this, that, this, then I might as well just stay the fuck away from that shit because I'm gay, I'm this, I'm that, I'm this. It looks like I can't be there.
Yeah. It feels like it's like a almost like, not exactly, but you know, like when segregation, when they had the signs blacks only, whites only. So you approach any congregation and it's like, okay, they don't accept this sin, I can't be in here.
Right.
You know what I mean? If they don't accept smoking, I can't be inside of here. They don't accept people that drink. Instead of going to a church that's like, open to everybody and saying we're going to help you and understand and listen to what you're going through with no judgment and actually come to a point of a plan and agreement. Is that what you're talking about? What you think, Dooney? You've been in different ministries and you've had a very interesting walk within your walk.
Yeah, and I want to just ask y'all, when you say pride, even the Bible speaks, if you go to the text, that pride come before a fall, right?
Right.
And so what would be your definitions or some definitions of what signs of pride? Because maybe some people don't know what pride is, the word pride. Because as a teacher, I'm always speaking of words and breaking it down.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? The etymology of it and things like that, to where you get a better understanding of why that particular word came about. But pride, what is pride? What is your definition of pride?
To me,
I would say it would be that stubborn action to be foolish enough to think that your wrongs don't need any rectification or any acknowledgement. If you made a wrong and you don't want to stand on it to say, you know what, this was my decision. I did stand on that decision, but I understand how it was wrong, and you learned from it. If you're unable to get to that, that's where I think that's pride.
Okay.
And sometimes people will be proud and prideful for something that they believe was right, even when they seen everything was wrong about it. There might be, some cases where there's a father that's arguing with his the mother of his children and says, I'm not going to be around those kids until she apologizes for what she did. In his mind, he thinks everything that he's doing is right, but it's still pride. Gotcha. He's proud in his foolish decision instead of understanding how much harm is coming from that decision, rather than just saying, you know what, I thought it was the right decision. It lined up with all my morals, but I had to say that this wasn't the right outcome for everybody at the end of the day.
Gotcha. What you think, guy?
For me, accountability.
Okay.
Accountability is a motherfucker. I'm sorry, I cuss. Hey,
yeah, it is open
I hear it all the
platform.
time. I put it on my Instagram. I had people telling me, "Hey, you cuss too much. You should stop cussing. God doesn't like that." Oh, damn, there I go again. Okay, so I think accountability is very important as a person, and for me, pride for me was me learning that I had to be accountable of everything that I fucked up on. I had to understand, like, Gotti, be accountable, bro. I became a better person when I learned to drop my pride. I became easier to I became more of a listener when I dropped the pride. I became more of a person that was learning, ready to learn when I dropped the pride. But that came with age. So, and it came with me bumping my head a lot. That's how I learned to for me, that's I can't really that's my way of explaining pride is all my fuck ups. So if I didn't learn accountability and all those things, and then that's for me, that's pride. Not being able to be accountable is pride. Not having an ego, pride. All those things is what crushed my life.
Well, I think ego and pride align a lot. You know what I mean? Like that J. Cole song when he's like, "Pride is the devil. I think he got a hold on me." Like that. It's a deep song, and
that's why I always pray this, man. I always pray because I believe in prayer real strong. That's when you pray, you really connect with God. So I always pray to God that I would decrease me, myself, my thoughts, my minds, my opinions, that God may increase. So I pray when I wake up, I say, God, I pray that I would decrease, that you may increase. Well, God, the most divine, can get the full glory out of my life. And so I stay humble between me and God, because it's a personal relationship. So I stay humble and low to the ground. And the reason why I stay low to the ground on my knees praying is because the lower I am with God and less prideful I am to God, the less my fall will be.
So that fall is not going to come from no high point. Okay, I hear you cooking. I hear you cooking.
You can't fall if you're on your knees.
Right.
If you humble and you just asking God, because we don't know it all.
Right.
And when we think we know it all is when we know nothing. So that which is divine, that what I cannot see it, but I know it's there. I can feel it. I can feel the vibration. Things that have happened in my life that man cannot get the credit for. Only God can. And how I identified with God coming up when my consciousness became aware that there even was a God was through Christianity. And the more that I have evolved in my thought process, in the school of thought, I'm realizing that God is not even on the outside of me. God is not even in the sky. Guess what God is? God is in me. I believe that I was born spirit, and I believe everybody was born spirit, but I was taught religion. And anybody that was taught anything that you have a habitual habit with, or something that's ritual, or something you do on a habit basis, or on a consistent basis, or come routinely, is something that you learned and you was taught. We wasn't born a Christian. We wasn't born a Muslim. We wasn't born a Jew. We wasn't born a Hebrew. We wasn't born anything other than what God created us to be. Go ahead, talk to me.
So
let's talk.
Would you saying that? Okay, now I have to ask this question because I bring it up to my mom all the time because she's and I'm Christian.
Right.
She's Christian. We're Christian. But I tell my mom all the time. I go, Mom, let me ask you something. And I tell her all the time because I believe that we are made from God. So realistically, in the Bible, I feel like the Bible is telling you that I'm in you. You're me. I'm you.
Yeah.
You are a God. And I try to tell my mom this, and she goes, no. In Spanish, she's like, I cannot say that I'm higher than God, so how could I say that I'm a God? And I'm like, I'm not telling you that you're higher than him. I'm telling you that you are him.
Yeah.
and if it messed up her brain, and she couldn't drop the fact that I said that. And I'm like, Mom, I'm not telling you that you need to build your own, like your own. No, you're built from him. So why don't you think that you are him?
Well, I can tell you the difference. But my bad. Go ahead, dude.
No, just real quick. Most time I see that when we are taught religion, within religion, it teaches us that God is on the outside of us, and we have to be lost to be found. You have to find something that's not in you. You have to find it. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And so she has that mindset. And those that have been introduced to religions, like I said, our religion teaches you that most divine is on the outside that you have to bring in. And the reason I said we're a spirit is because the spirit itself, even if you go to the Bible, okay, and I like to use biblical terms because there's a lot of universal principles in the Bible that we can apply to our lives. But when you read in Genesis, when the Bible says that God took man and he molded him from the earth, right, into his own image, that particular man or that particular image that was on the earth never moved. He just created it. Mm-hmm. Only time it moved is when God blew into it. Right? So that means that it didn't become a living form, a living life until the very breath of God was blown into it. So that breath of ours is spirit. It's connected. Because you take the breath out of any temple that one lives in, that what you call transitioned. Right? It's when the breath is gone. When they got him on the thing in the doctor and the monitor is going and it's and then once that go flatline, your breath is gone. So that's why the Bible speaks that it's life and death in the power of the tongue because it's connected to your breath. That's why you can bring negativity or positivity because the God that whom people look for on the outside already exists in us because we were born with God and we was born God, but we're not the universe. And when we say God, yes. God is a European or Eurocentric word that came in the 13th, 14th century. Okay? It's a colloquial term that we use to describe that which is hidden. So God is just a word. And we put the most divine of that hidden presence in a word, and we box it. I've done it. Everybody do it. But God is in us, through us, has made everything, is the beginning and the end, the Alpha and the Omega, and nobody has ever seen God in the flesh, or what I mean by seeing in a man image. You see God through the works. You said earlier that, man, it was things in my life God delivered me from. He saved me from. I knew it was God. That's you seeing God.
Yeah.
That is the face of God.
Right.
You cannot see God through a face. He works through people. That's why we are gods, because we can relate to what's going on. But God itself, or the universe, or that which is hidden, you see that in the very manifestation in things that you cannot explain, because really God, or the most divine, is a mystery. It's a mystery system. But anyway.
So in the Bible,
just
when they talk about when Moses was talking to the burning bush and said, "Who are you?" and it said, "My name is I am." That misinterpretation they said was also Yahweh. That other misinterpretation.
Now, when you say misinterpretation, now you stepping on some.
Hold on,
Hebrews
I'll
now.
tell you right now.
Hold on.
I'm gonna tell you right now why it's misinterpretation, because people have read it, and when it came down to interpreting the scrolls, the interpretation went to what was in layman's terms, and that's why it's a curse to us if we're not using these words and teaching people what it means instead of dumbing down the words, and it takes away the power from it.
So tell them what it means then.
The real interpretation of it was two sounds for when he said, "Who are you?" And the answer back was, that breath, that in and that out. So when you're talking about God gave the breath of life, every time you breathe, you are praising God. Every single time that you breathe, you don't even have to think about it. It just happens.
I like that.
You know what I mean? This
I
is just natural second nature. It just comes every single time you're praising. Even if you're an atheist, even if you don't believe, God still is saying that you got that breath and your body's still in connection. Even if it's like, I don't know what this fool's talking about.
I gotta ask you something.
Go for it.
I'm gonna have to steal that one from you. I'm gonna steal that one. Yeah, how you got that? Yeah, I'm gonna have to steal that breath. And when you say the burning bush, when it talks about the burning bush, and the Bible said that God told Moses that I am the I am, and you got that revelation, or where did you find that from, that it was the breath of God?
I got the revelation when I was once I started to find out about like the Book of Enoch, when I found out about the Ethiopian Bible, when I
the real Bible,
right, when
the
I
only real Bible,
instead of just going on to that that 300 AD
325 AD,
exactly 325 AD biblical
the Council of Nicaea,
exactly, and when I said, okay, well, what goes beyond that, and then when you start thinking, okay, and before that, and before that, and before that, and you start getting down to some of the roots of it. One of the other misinterpretations of the Bible was when they said that Jesus was a carpenter. He was a landscaper. And think about how critical that difference is. If Jesus is a landscaper, that means he built foundations. Now, what is Jesus' preachings about? The foundation, and letting God be the foundation in your life. That also means when people are looking for the furniture pieces that Jesus built as a carpenter, it's nothing in comparison to thinking about the cobblestone and the landscapes that he probably built in Jerusalem, that people can walk around. In Bethlehem, that people can walk around, and you can still step on some of these foundations that was already laid there, and there's nothing that these people can do to destroy that foundation that God has set.
That's deep, and I believe. And I want you to correct me if I'm wrong, or your view, or anyone's view, even in the comments. I believe Jesus was a figure of speech, or someone that was figuratively written about, that had principles, morals, universal wisdom that we can apply to our lives. But when it comes to Jesus ever existing, I just have a problem, and that's a challenge to me. And I'm not convinced that he literally came and came in the flesh, other than the universal principles and the moral, the characteristics of Jesus working through us that we can see in the flesh. But it just hadn't been proven to me that a Jesus ever came in the flesh So I'm not convinced. When I read certain things, I read certain scrolls and doctrines, and I read certain timelines of when it came about, then it brings error and it brings questions to me. So my question would be to anyone, that goes beyond to have they did any studying. You know what I'm saying? Because we got a lot of preachers now that just get behind the pulpit and just preach because of what they was taught. What caused the mannerism they seen coming up as a child. You know what I'm saying? I want to be a preacher, or I think I was called to be a preacher. But when it comes to the knowledge, you know what I'm saying, some of the things that I've learned and read about brings question.
Has anything ever happened to you in life that proved to you that God was real?
Yeah, the manifestations of God, which is
I get that, but I'm saying okay, for me, when I knew God was real, I was a kid and my mom used to take me on to these church camps, and it would just be me following her just as a child. And I remember, and we went to Sedona, Arizona, and it was windy. It was like I swear it was like 50 mile an hour winds, and we couldn't. And everyone's trying to put their tents up, and it was so crazy to me. It was about 50 of us, and we all got together and prayed for the wind to stop, and the wind came to a complete stop. When that was the day that I knew that God was real. When seen that, I mean, I had been infested with God my whole life, but I had never really, as a child, I had never seen like that. I had never seen something like that
happen. You know why? Because the Bible says, where there's one or two gathered together in my name, I'm in the midst. So again, you said that we prayed.
Yeah.
First of all, God was in the midst.
Yeah.
Y'all prayed. You used your voice.
Yes.
And guess what? Because you use your voice, it's connected to who?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now,
Go ahead. So I believe it could have happened. I wasn't there to witness it, but yeah. But that just, again, God's manifestation showing you divinely. Man can't get the credit for that. All I'm saying is that when let's say the time that I did become consciously awake, even trying to identify with God through the Jesus doctrine, calling out Jesus' name. Every time I prayed in Jesus' name. That's what the Bible said, pray in Jesus' name. And I believe because my heart was right with God, regardless of if that's the name of the most divine or not, because my heart was right and I was seeking something I knew was bigger than me, God will work through any type of distraction of a name that you call it. Don't matter. God weighs the heart of a man and a woman. He weighs the heart. God weighs the heart. And even when you go back to the Egyptian ancient text, it talks about the heart. The ancient Egyptians weighed the heart with a feather. Now that's deep. Yeah. But we ain't gonna go into that.
Now, okay, so speaking of the names that you enclose your prayers in, I think that when you have a prayer, it's susceptible to any attack spiritually. From positive, negative, malevolent spirits that are around, even from people who are in the flesh and their spirits that are connected to it. That's why you're not supposed to share your prayer with everybody. That's not why you're not supposed to pray with everybody. If your spirit's not right and their spirit isn't right, whatever it is, there's certain cases you got to be very careful. And that's why I think it's important that if God is the one in closing your prayer. When people do witchcraft and they're calling on these other spirits, they're doing a prayer, but they're enclosing it in a different spirit. And they're asking for a different anointment on their words that they're speaking out. Now,
do you think that's in their heart?
Oh, yeah, I think that's in their heart. That's definitely in their practice.
It starts with their heart and with their mouth. Because you gotta understand, we all are connected to the spirit.
Correct.
And what comes out your mouth comes from your heart.
So that, of course, but that's why I think, people, when they say amen, a lot of times I think their heart is not saying amen short for Amen Ra, which a lot of people are enclosing their prayer with Amen Ra. That's a whole nother God.
Let's say amen. Let's say amen means two different things.
Okay.
I've heard amen.
I've heard Jesus means devil.
Yeah, hold on. We're going to get to that. But the amen, when I first heard about amen, it meant so be it. Mm-hmm. So it was the closing of a prayer.
That's what I heard too.
Okay. Now, when you say Amen Ra, yeah, amen come from that. Because so be it means Amen Ra was a hidden presence. So when you praying to a hidden presence. So it's so be it. And so Amun Ra, just that when you study that in comedic science, it just means hidden presence. That's all. It don't mean a certain person or a certain deity. It's just saying how the ancient Egyptians looked at God, and they never called God God. That's a Eurocentric word. But when it comes to all the attributes of that which is divine, the sun, the sky, the water, ecology, the earth, the trees, cosmology, all that was connected to that which is Ra. So Amun is hidden because it reproduces itself. Everything is connected like microorganisms. Mm-hmm. That's why when you pass away, you have organs in you, right? They can cut out and all that because you are an organism and you are connected to the trees. You're connected to the animals. You're connected to the water. You're connected to cosmology and ecology. You know what I'm saying? Because we go back to the earth. When we pass away or transition, we go back to the earth. Everything reproduces itself because it's nature. It is God in its manifestation. And I'm only using God because it's a colloquial term that we use to describe that which is hidden. So I'm just going to use God. God is above all things, under all things. God is in the presence of the wicked. God is in the presence of the righteous. God is in control of everything. So when it starts with your mind and it starts with you understanding who you are as a spirit, then you begin to go on your journey and your assignment. Because God made us all unique and different and peculiar. You know what I'm saying? Of course. And so this is a deep conversation. I love it. And I like the way God was saying that, he was explaining from his mother's experience. These are just experiences we had in our walks. Your mother's experience, my mother's experience, your mother's experience is different. They had a different experience or an enlightenment when it came to the most divine. That's why God has showed them in their lives different things to take them from level to level, from faith to faith. And I've been walking that ever since I've been consciously awake. Some would call it born again. If you want to be born again in Jesus, that's just you waking up consciously. That's all it is. And when I talk about consciousness, then I have to go to the anatomy. You got to go to your body. You got to go to what is anatomy. Learn about me first. Let me learn about what God has created and why I'm created. So you got this little old bitty thing that's real quick. It's like the grain of a pea, or it's like the grain of rice, and it's called the pineal gland, and it's right in the middle of your brain. Okay. And what it does is it releases endocrines into the bloodstream that affects your metabolism. It affects your growth. It affects your melatonin. It affects your sleep patterns. It is called the body clock. Just that little bitty piece. This thing, scientists have even called it something real spiritual, to whereas they've called it the third eye. And I know y'all have heard of that term before, the third eye. A scholar once, Dakota has called it the seat of the soul. So I say that to say this, that we're so connected as microorganisms and as one that has something that we can't see, to where even in us, when God taps into us through our pineal gland, that's where we get a lot of our information downloaded from. And this is what the crazy part about it is. If you got DNA from your ancestors, you got DNA from your mama, your daddy, they mama, they daddy, they mama, they daddy, in that pineal gland, excuse me for my collar coming loose, but in your pineal gland, when it releases endocrines in your bloodstream, it's releasing DNA as well, because you're connected to your ancestors. It's releasing all the thought process that your ancestors had, all the things. That's why you can see certain stuff. You have certain dreams and stuff. It might not even be your dream. It might be a dream from your ancestors. It might be a dream from someone that you connected to DNA wise. Because all of that through your pineal gland, and the pineal gland is shaped like a pine cone. That's where it gets its name from, like a pine cone.
Yeah.
Okay. The Latin word for it is pineal. And what it is something that's in there that releases stuff in your bloodstream to where it affects your whole body. It affects your sleep pattern and everything. So Google that, and you'll begin to understand that we are made so unique, and the pine gland doesn't have a color to it. You know what I'm saying? So that kills the color barrier. You know what I'm saying? That one group of people is not above the other group of people just because of your skin color or your race when it comes to that which is divine, because only religion give God a color.
Yeah.
But I'm going to leave it at that.
You know, it goes hand in hand with 2 points I want to make on it.
That's deep. Okay.
When we talk about the consciousness, we're talking about these senses that we have.
Yeah, good stuff.
When people are in the womb, in your mother's womb, you're developing all your senses, and they all come based off of interactions, and that's how your body's going to interpret it. That's how you can understand if there's a lack of development in a child that's in the embryo stages, that if they're going to be deaf, if they're going to be blind, because they didn't see the light and they didn't react to the light while they seen light piercing through the mother's stomach. Right. Or when they heard the sound frequencies that were coming in, it didn't register to them the same. The touch, all of that. But the very first sense that we have is that awareness. That's that consciousness that we're tapped in with. That's the very first sense that we have, and that's why you could be blind, you could be deaf, you could have no sense of touch, you could lose all of your other senses. You might not even have taste, but you will always have a consciousness because it's the very first sense that you have, and I believe that comes from that pineal gland, and that's why you're still tapped into God. I think that's one of the most prevalent signs of being connected with God. That everyone has that opportunity. It's not a bias. Like you said, it's not based on color, race, ethnicity, origin. You can't mess that up. If you lose that consciousness, you're gone. You know what I mean? Even in a coma, you have that consciousness. Now, that was for that piece to go hand in hand with it. The other one is with this pineal gland that you have that they don't want you to exercise. They're going to try to throw it off with different frequencies, with dietary habits. It's been studied countless times.
In the water, fluoride.
They know how to cloud it. Yep.
I take Haritaki every night and every day, 2 times in the morning and night.
And now they call it brain fog. They have terms for these different products that they're using to cloud that judgment within you. And they don't understand how it's so prevalent for so long in your life that they're starting to even find out that particular studies show that the pineal gland has been present since the sperm cell.
Oh, wow. Good. Yeah, it's supposed to have been developed after 2 months of a baby's being born. But you're saying the sperm cell?
The sperm cell is starting to find some of the
pineal?
Yeah, the same the endocrines that's still inside of it are still inside of that sperm cell as well. So it's travels
definitely
through.
A unique gland. It's a gland. And no, go ahead, finish.
So what would that mean for that seed and how much that design was thought about? If we're talking about if God has a plan and how deep was the plan and he knew you before you were even born, this goes so deep to the point where even as the seed, this was already embedded for your life.
So when you say the most divine is reproduction?
Good question. Go ahead and elaborate on what you mean by that, because they could go 2 ways. I want to hear what you mean.
Well, my definition of reproduction is what it is. It reproduces itself. Okay. Everything reproduces itself, and like I said,
why do they say it's? Why do they say that it's a demonic place?
What's a demonic
reproduction?
place? Reproduction.
Why would that be demonic?
Who says
sex?
No, sex is just an action, but reproduction comes after the action of sex. If there's a sperm or trace cell that's released, a seed, and then it finds the egg in a woman, then it reproduces itself. It finds that egg, and then it begins to create that creation. But everything does that. You know what I'm saying? The animals does it. Everything reproduces itself, and anything that fights against reproduction is fighting against nature. And the ancient Egyptians called it Neteru, which is just nature. Nature itself it flows. Everything flows. Everything's flowing to reproduction. It reproduces itself. We reproduce ourselves. You know what I'm saying? Animals reproduce itself. Everything reproduces itself. And anything that stops reproduction, even when we get into the subjects of AI and all these other things that's trying to stop reproduction with Planned Parenthood, just a whole lot of stuff like that, then you're fighting against the most divine. Because the divine is reproduction itself. The divine reproduces everything. Yeah. Even smoke. If you smoke, that you got to do the seed, you got to grow it, you got to nourish it and everything. And get what? You can keep doing it because you take that particular seed and you reproduces it. It reproduces itself.
Well, that's like matter. You can't destroy matter. So if I take any object in the world and you burn it, you just changed its form. Now it's in smoke, but that smoke is going to rise. It's going to get collected.
So why
it's going to turn into dust. It's going to turn into water. It's going to build inside of a cloud. It'll come down again, but it never is erased. Matter just keeps coming in different forms.
Color. I got it one more time on the sex. God was saying about the sex. Yeah. And sex is not a bad thing.
So they say, like, I don't know if it's because if it's in situations, not a court, like in a marriage situation, but your mind going into those, like they say that there are demons circling in like when you're having sex or even threesome, like there could demonic situations come from sex. You've never heard of that?
Never heard of that. That it comes from sex, unless it's a deed that it becomes the ritual within your practice with a partner. It's out of order. Like if you are out of the natural order, and I believe that's sex is a covenant agreement that one would make when you bind soul ties. It's a covenant. It's a covenant agreement. What we wants to do, what we would like to do as humans is make it what you call a righteous covenant. That's why people get married when they do it and things like that, to prevent any breach of the covenant. And what you're explaining is when there's breaches of the covenant, then there's no boundaries, there's no rules, and people do whatever. So you know what I'm saying? And there's not. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. And I'm not even talking about poly. Poly can even be structured. Okay. You know, because I'm a true believer in poly. You know what I'm saying? Okay. But I'm a believer in poly that produces or reproduces itself, not a poly of the same sex or anything like that. I believe that's out of order, but to each his own. But I believe,
how would poly be possible without it being same sex? Because somebody's gonna have to be the same gender once you get more than two.
Well, you got the polyandry, you got different type of polys. Okay. You know what I'm saying? And so it could be same sex, but multiple people could be participating in that sexual activity, which makes it poly. But when it comes to...
Wouldn't that just be an orgy?
That's the definition that I would call it. Okay. But according to the definition, poly is multiple, right? But I mean, their definition when they add it on to poly. But poly itself is anything that reproduces itself. So when you get away from poly, the true definition of poly or reproducing, then you have to omit the natural aspect of the same, because they cannot reproduce. So you're fighting against the very order or nature of that which is divine. Because the divine has order, it has balance, it has structure, and a lot of that universal principle, again, I have to go back to the Egyptian text or the Kemetic science, because 42 admonitions of Ma'at talks about these particular structures that control the environment or society. And that's why Kemet was a society that was looked upon by other people that they could take bits and pieces of and go back to their geographical areas, and they create their own society, and they will take some of these principles of the 42 admonitions or negative confessions of Ma'at, and they will build their own society, because you can't have a society that's chaos. You know what I'm saying? It has to have order. It has to have balance. And that's what even America. So America is the new Egypt. Egypt was just a high civilization. Kemet was a high civilization. It was the child of Ethiopia, but it was a high civilization to where everybody wanted to mimic that pattern or that blueprint on how to control society. That's why I say even in religion, if I have to go up on a religion, I go back to my Kemetic science as a people of my ancestry, that were brought over here through the transatlantic slave trade, and I know I'm finna start some stuff now. But the reason why I say that, and you got to stay with me on this, is because I don't have but one language, right?
Right.
That was passed down to me, and that language was English. And I know, studying the English people, I don't look English. You know what I'm saying? And so where did my language go? So when you find your language, you're going to find your culture. And when you find your culture, you're going to find the God of that culture. And when I mean the God, again, a colloquial term, but that which is hidden, because every culture comes with a God, and every culture comes with a language, and that God is going to look like that culture. And so when I challenge the melanated, and the reason why I say that put me on a journey to find out who I was is because I have a lost identity, which I don't have a dialect or a unique language. My language is from the culture of America. That's all I know. You know what I'm saying? But I do know that as I study the culture, I begin to find the God, and I begin to find the language. So I go back and say, okay, melanated people that look like me, what did they worship? What they believe in, and things like that. And so when you look at the text of the Kemetic text, then I begin to find out the identity of the people that look like me, that had principles that they live by, and they practice, and how they looked at and viewed that which is hidden. And so if I'm a practice of religion, I'd rather go find something that look like me. That's all I'm saying. Because at the end of the day, whatever culture you from, whatever God you serve within that culture, whatever language that come with that culture, we all have a common interest in believing in something that we cannot see until you adopt or subscribe to a religion that give God a color.
Now, when you say look like me, you cooking right now. You cooking. I'm saying when you say look like me, though, your skin complexion is lighter. Now, I'm not saying like you light skin, but I'm saying like we mid-tone. You and I mid-tone, that means we got some colonizers in our blood. Somewhere down that bloodstream. So where does that fit into the look like you? If
that's a good question.
It's still a part of you.
That's a good question.
Do we denounce it? Do we disown it? Do we acknowledge it? Do we accept it?
No, it's just
what happens with that part of our lineage?
And I'm glad you asked. And not a God, a person that looks like me. I'm just comparing it to religions because they make up gods that look like them.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? From the Buddha to Hinduism.
Well, now they're trying to say Egyptians weren't even black. They're trying to say Egyptians were of a fair color.
I think they was of different tones. You know what I'm saying?
I agree.
Anything that's basically just live close to the sun. See, so whatever color you want to call it, it could be light skinned, but it depends on your melatonin. You know what I'm saying? So I don't really go into the color tone of Egyptians or the Kemetic sign.
Well, the reason why that's important is because I think that they're trying to take away that heritage. I think they're slowly trying to introduce to say that Egyptians were not African. Even though Egypt is in Africa, even though the lineage is there,
you know the Arabs are doing that though.
Of course,
the Arabs are doing that. The Arabs, from what I heard from some of our teachers, they in the next 100 years, and you and I, they trying to switch it to in the next 100 years. That's why they chipping away at the pyramids. They trying to chip them away. In the next 100 years to 200 years, the story of the pyramids is going to be that the Arabs made it. They changing the whole story.
Everybody wants to claim after they demonized Egypt. They demonized.
Even the Bible demonized Egypt. You know what I'm saying? And what's so crazy about it is Moses is supposed to have came from Egypt.
He did.
Right? And so all the children of Israel, the Hebrew, all of them supposed to have been in Egypt. And the Bible even said that Moses was raised in all the ways of Egypt. He was there over 40 years.
Well, and this is what I talk about with the pyramids.
Okay, go ahead.
The pyramids were built for agriculture. The whole premise of it, when you look at it, is for agriculture. When the rain comes down from that top point, it's going to distribute that water amongst the land to the people surrounding the pyramid.
Very brilliant people that made it.
Exactly, and it's a brilliant mindset, and it's something that's been stapled across the world in different landscapes where they had those pyramids to go ahead and distribute the water. One of the only places that we can see an example of that is in Mayan and Inca developments that they had in South America and in Mexico and Central America as well. Now, we can see that, but when we talk about this famine, that's why it's a desert now there.
The Egypt that you look at on TV, you think that that's the original Egypt?
No, that's not what I'm saying at all. But what I'm saying is when we can see examples of that famine that happened when this Ramses curse took place, when Moses went and he warned everybody and told them the plague that was going to come on that land. That's why you can see the desertness there. There's still land and there's still water and fruitation within Egypt. But what I'm saying is, in the land that was cursed because of the people that were worshiping multiple gods, that's still prevalent and the evidence is still there of that famine.
And some would argue that fact and say that that's not correct. That's incorrect because you're just speaking from a biblical standpoint, because the Bible says these things happen with Ramses and the curse and things like that. But when you go and predate it, there's no documentation on the pyramid text, hieroglyphics that even speaks about what the Bible talks about when it comes about Moses or Ramses. It don't even speak. Those dynastic periods talked about something totally different when it comes to the pharaohs. Okay, and so when you're talking about the Bible, the reason the Bible depicts Egypt as being evil and things like that, because there had to be an exit, which is those that came and stole from its peripheral some of the universal principles had to exit because they had to go somewhere else. And so when they went somewhere else, again, all kind of different conquerors came into Egypt, Kemet, and they took a lot of the universal principles and went back to their own landmass and opposed it to their landmass as though it was theirs. So they changed the story. They did certain things to control their landmass. And so I say that even in America, you know what I'm saying, we have become subject to the information that America has adopted. Because even 10 of the commandments are familiar with 42 admonitions of Ma'at. 10 of those are the 10 commandments. Because Moses, remember, he came from Egypt. So before he was even given the 10 commandments, 10 of those was the admonitions of Ma'at. So it ain't like God gave it to him. He already knew him. Moses knew that he killed somebody before the commandments was even gave to him. Thou shalt not kill. He gave him that on Mount Sinai. Moses knew about killing. That's why he ran.
So why are they hiding the Ark of the Covenant if they have these commandments?
Man, humans do a whole lot of stuff.
Well,
that's why you gotta search. Humans, man, we can do all kinds of stuff, man. We want to be God. That's what pride. I believe pride comes in there.
I think
to this day. I mean, look at science. Look at the robots. Look at AI. Humans is just sometimes built to destroy themselves.
So a lot of these artifacts that I think would really be groundbreaking for you, because you were saying, like, you know, looking for the proof of Jesus, looking for the proof of what Moses had written, looking for the proof that it goes and contradicts what's written in the scribes and also on the hieroglyphs within Egypt. You can find it if we had access to this Ark of the Covenant, this enclosure. You know,
the Ark of the Covenant came with the Exodus.
Yeah.
The first book wrote, or the first book collected, because Bible just means collection of books. That's all Bible means. The first book.
Bible means book. It meant scribe. Yeah.
The scribes. And scribes itself, you have to collect scribes.
Right.
You know, they just can come with one big scribe because there's timelines. Okay? So the Bible itself, and when you study theology, you will see that Exodus was the first book. It wasn't Genesis.
Yeah.
It was Exodus. So it says in the Pentateuch, which is the first 5 books of the Bible, it's recorded, or it's assumed that Moses wrote the first 5 books of the Bible. First, you have to see if Moses ever existed for us to even challenge or believe in its Genesis. Because Exodus was the first book. So Moses had to write about Genesis if he was the author. Now, this is what I question. And I got y'all got to maybe answer this. Because I believe God is God of all. God doesn't change. The Bible says God is the same today, yesterday, and forever, right? Yeah. So if God can make a one man from you, then can God make a one man from you today? Can God take from your rib and make a whole woman?
I think God could, but I just feel like it would be no point to it. I think God could still...
But God didn't change. That means God switched up. Because the Bible said a woman came from a man. Now, biologically, when I look at kids that's born, they come from women. I've never seen a man lay down and a rib was taken out of you to create a whole woman.
That changed.
Now we creating women?
Once she broke the laws of the land of the
that
Garden
changed.
of Eden.
Now man
that was
cannot
the promise, and he said, fine.
because
he
she did that, now man can't make babies. So he didn't make the woman, even when she broke the curse, he didn't make her to have kids.
That wasn't her purpose.
That wasn't her purpose.
That's not what she was
How
going to do.
was we going to reproduce? Man was going to do it from his rib?
We would never find out.
Because it sounds kind of crazy.
Because look,
That's what I'm saying. It sounds, because see.
So imagine
When
if
God's a woman.
Imagine if she didn't. Imagine if they didn't
participate. You say that. That's a whole nother theory.
If they didn't participate in the forbidden
Mother
fruit.
Nature,
I'm with you.
mother. I mean,
If they didn't,
it sounds like a woman.
if they didn't participate in the
Go.
forbidden fruit,
Yeah.
then
And
it would have sound crazy.
and that's a
A
big
child coming out of the vagina, that's where she pees from. That wouldn't make no sense to nobody if it didn't happen that way. But things have changed. There's different genetics that have changed over the years because of what becomes obsolete because of what is now.
Because you were mixing science with fiction.
And
Allegorical is allegorical. The Bible itself is allegorical. It's not to be believed literally.
Oh, of course.
It was written by people that
Do you know
Hold
that?
on, let me finish this. No, hold that thought. It was written by people that existed.
Yeah.
But the people that existed, the people that they was writing about never existed. It's allegorical stories that you can take principles, you can take moral concepts from it, and it can help navigate you through life. Go ahead. I want to.
Go ahead. Let's
Go ahead.
I sort of lost it.
Okay.
I just go ahead. Y'all
No,
can
while you
rock
think
it.
about it, I want to say
Step
that.
up.
Go ahead.
Speaking
No, this
of
is
that
deep.
allegory, one of the things it goes hand in hand. Talking about the forbidden fruit, I tell people it's not an actual fruit. It was about sex. That was the knowledge of good and evil that they discovered.
And that's
with
your
sex.
interpretation, and that's your revelation of it.
But I think it's very
Even that's
prominent.
folklore and
Go ahead.
allegorical stories with the Egyptian text.
Correct.
When we talk about a lot of the things that happens in hieroglyphics and things, and when they interpret it, they even see a lot of those things was folklore and allegorical, but they had principles to them. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And that's what the ancient Egyptians understood, that there was a lot of principles within those texts, in those hieroglyphics, to help us navigate. Even the Book of the Dead. The Book of the Dead was buried with pharaohs and stuff because it helped them navigate in the afterlife.
Now, do you understand the difference though between folklore and the Bible, and how people do not look at the tortoise and the hare and say that this happened? No one is confused to say that the tortoise and the hare happened. It was because it wasn't taught as history. This wasn't taught as something that occurred, and it was a message that was passed down for multiple years. It's still a lesson. It still has a metaphor. It's still a fable.
That's what it's for.
But that's what I'm saying. There's a big difference because no one is confusing the story of Spider-Man 100 years from now to say that they think that there was a man that was swinging from buildings in New York. It's not going to get confused and misinterpreted.
Do you believe
that
Christians look at the Bible literally, that it really happened, or they looking at it and pulling principles from it when they read these stories and metaphoricals?
I think there's
That's
levels.
what I was gonna say.
Go ahead.
They say that Virgin Mary having Jesus is just a metaphor. It's not real.
That was real.
Okay, did you just hear what I said?
I heard you.
Say that again.
They say, okay, like even the term, like, it's like, what was the word that you just used? What did you just say? You said, what did you just say a second ago?
Which one?
Like,
I know.
that it was that.
Allegory.
No. Right. That I literally just said it. I said that
Metaphor.
Metaphor.
Yeah.
That it's not like that. It was just a metaphor. That it's really not like that it really did happen.
Right. So that's what I'm talking about. Where I've heard people say that she lied and she had sex and she didn't want to tell anybody because the punishment in that time frame of what would have occurred to her if they found out she had sex out of wedlock. So they said she lied to say that it was an immaculate conception. So instead, they will tell themselves that rather than believing she had not had sex and that Jesus was a pure baby. Go ahead, because look, if it's as simple as just lying and saying there was no dad there, why was this the only occurrence that we heard of somebody in that time frame getting pregnant without sex? Why weren't there other women stepping up and saying that? And if they did, where are their stories?
I'm glad you asked.
Go ahead.
I'm glad you asked. In the Kemetic text and Kemetic science, you have Heru, you have a Set, and you have Horus. Okay, the Greeks changed the name to Isis.
Iris?
I'm sorry, Osiris. Let me stand corrected. You have Osar, you have a Set, and you have Heru. The Greeks changed the name from Osar to Osiris.
Yes.
Change the name of Aset to Isis. Change the name of Heru to Horus. Okay? These are stories, these are allegorical folklore.
Correct.
This was the first Immaculate Conception. That's why they say the Virgin Mary and the Jesus story from its peripheral was stolen from the Comedic Science text when it talks about Heru, and it talks about a Set, and it talks about Horus, Osiris. So when you look at that and you understand the folklore story of a Set, Asar brother, Satan one had killed him and chopped him up in 14 pieces, right? Isis only found 13 pieces and put him back together. He was what you call the first mummy. Put him back together, but she couldn't find one piece. Now this is the story, which was his phallus. She wept so much, cried so much, that Heru was conceived. That was the first Immaculate Conception. But there was many more prior to the Virgin Mary. But that story, like I said, people stole certain stories and changed the whole concept of it to bring it on to their mass of people whom they trying to control, because they seen that they liked the way the Comedic Science or Egypt was doing to control the people. A Kemet was able to control with a whole lot of folklore stories that had principles and meanings to it. Now, I said that to say this. It attaches itself to a God and a people. You know what I'm saying? And you are only subject to what you was taught in your geographical area or your culture on which you was taught. Yeah. I talk about a lot of this, and I just say I adopted because I've just been on a journey in the school of thought. But I love America. This is my culture. I'm not saying it's the greatest country in the world, okay? I would say that America may not be where we want it to be, especially I can speak as an African American. It may not be where I want it to be, but it damn sure ain't where it used to be 100 years ago. Right. When it comes to how African Americans was treated. You know what I'm saying? But I can say this, that, you know what I'm saying, because some would say we was already over here, that Africans was already over here, and it could be. It could have been Moors that was over here, or people that traveled over here from different parts of the world. You know, I believe we was everywhere. But I tell people all the time, if we were over in America, you know, prior Christopher Columbus, when he came over, it's two things happened, nigga. You either became a slave or you became enslaved. And they still told you, if you was over here, to shut the hell up. And you better not say nothing about your language. Because every culture come with a language. Every people come with a language. Because everybody you talk to over here that's came from other countries have their own dialect and their language. They have English too, but they know their own language. So I say this to anyone that said, we was already over here. But still, if you was already over here, I promise you, prior Christopher Columbus, wasn't nobody speaking English over here.
No.
Okay, so what were we speaking before then? You got shut up. You got shut up. You got shut up, Toby. You got put on that thing and said you need to shut up. You either gonna become one of us and teach them what I tell you to teach, or you gonna shut up because I don't want you to communicate. And I'm gonna say this, God, you might not know a whole lot of history, and I say this to any other race that's not black American over here, and you come over here and you don't understand our story. You know, you don't understand a lot of the stuff that we went through when we talk about reparations and stuff like that is because of what our ancestors went through. It was a time that our ancestors was brought over here through a transatlantic slave trade, and you all need to study this before you prejudge when you come over here and why we have the attitude we have or why we think the way we think. Because when our ancestors was brought over here, even as a family, if you had a wife or a husband and children, when you were brought over here, you were put on a chopping block. You were put on a block of some type of stand to where they separate you. They will send your wife over here. They'll send the man over here to a whole nother state, and send the children over there to a whole nother state to where they never seen each other again. And if you did go to a plantation to see with other blacks that they bought, they told the blacks they better not communicate with each other, and you better not speak. And if we find out you know how to speak, we gonna castrate the men. We gonna kill the women. We gonna cut the babies out the women. We gonna do everything in our power. And matter of fact, sometimes master used to come in the room and rape the men. And take them, buck break them, and come in the room and rape your. Can you imagine laying by your wife and your children in there, and someone come in there and rape you, or rape your wife, or take your wife out of there, or anything like that? So you don't know the history on why black people today are still fighting for justice. Like I said, we can't complain and say that we ain't came from something. But we have evolved as a country.
But no, not that much, because everything that you just described is still going on. They still separating everybody. Wow. They still sending the husband into one house. They still sending the mom into another house. They still sending the kids to another house. That's the welfare system. This is how they're getting everybody on the system. They're making sure that everybody's getting paid by the government to do this. They're still separating us, and we don't have a language. We've never been able to develop a language, even the language that we had when we were the native blacks here. People keep saying that we came over here in these ships, and they think that Africa wasn't traveling. Why are there Africans in Brazil?
Everywhere.
Why are there Africans? They were traveling in these ships. Egypt had these ships. How are they getting down the Nile? How are they able to make all this purple? The purple that you're wearing is in representation for where it came from, because it was from that lilac. There was only one place in the world to get it. That's why Julius Caesar had a purple robe, and it blew everybody's mind in Rome, because he had to go to Egypt to go get it. And when Arsenal Rowe kicked him out, and he had to jump out of a pillar, he left his robe, and she flagged the robe out the window to show everybody Julius Caesar has left. That's when she got killed, when she was 14 years old, for doing that. But what I'm saying is, we still have this separation that they did for the slaves then, that they're doing now. They ate slaves the same way they ate dead Egyptians. When in the 1800s, when they were breaking in.
Yeah, so no, that's deep. No, keep going. And so the way you breaking that down, keep going.
So
and
what
so
I'm saying
you say they ate slaves.
They ate slaves. They ate Egyptians too. So when they were grave robbing in the 1800s, these Europeans were going into these tombs. They were going into the they were ripping open these caskets, and they were taking these pieces of these mummies, and they were eating them.
Tomb raiders and taking the artifacts as well.
And then they ate so many of these corpses that when they came back to America, they said that there was a way to eat the fresh corpse of the modern Africans. And they were eating the slaves that they had in their backyards. They were grinding them up, and they were eating them. And slaves had and some of these slaves, before they got these scraps, they had to eat themselves too.
And see, that's sad.
It's sad. You got to eat your own people.
And I said that to say this. So, to any other race, whether you Mexican, you Asian, you even if you African, because even Africans that comes over here from the motherland or whatever, still prejudge African Americans over here.
I could never prejudge any race, or judge any race at all. One thing I will say is, what people have to understand too at the same time is that Mexicans were getting. We weren't going through slavery because we were getting murdered. We were getting hung. We were getting our land taken. Do you guys know that they were killing all the oxes, all the everything that Indians had to eat? Natives, they killed. Besides raping our women, killing our kids, the same thing that they're doing right now today. Don't ever get it twisted. Mexicans. We're all in Mexico. This is all fucking Mexico.
That's right.
This is all Mexico. All of it. So at the end of the day, people have to remember that we didn't even have a price. We were getting our land taken, and we were getting murdered. There was no price.
But there was slavery still. That was Spain. That was Spain that came through and enslaved the people in Mexico, and they went through their slavery where they were getting whipped and they were being separated and they got taught a different language that they weren't allowed to speak anymore, and that's when they had to start speaking Spanish. Y'all got beef with y'all people too. So you know what I mean? So it should be up with Spain the same way that it was up with us with our colonizers as well.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, I'm saying like in unity.
And this to say is what I'm trying to say is we've all gone through something.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
We've all gone through something, and at the end of the day, everybody's still saying,
I
went through this, but I went through that. I went through this. I went through that. We all went through fucking something.
That's the point.
Why ain't we all coming together?
Yeah.
That's the real shit.
That's it. That should be the end result at the end of the day.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And that's good, got it, because I was speaking and we speaking to those, especially those that prejudge and those that are still locked into that mindset that you have to evolve. You got to move on. You know what I'm saying? And even to my people, we have to move on. And so yeah, we can ask for reparations all day long for something that we feel like that should have been given to our ancestors, but we see they ain't gonna give it to us. They give $80 million budgets to all other kind of projects that they doing. And you know what I'm saying? And if the Native Americans' lands were taken over here, they know they ain't getting it back. You know what I'm saying? So you're right. Everybody has went through something from the conquerors that came over here and conquered this particular land.
You guys heard white people went through a huge slavery. You heard what happened to white people too, right?
White people today.
Crazy.
Let me shout out to the white people today. I'm talking about anything under, I would say under 45 and under, have migrated into understanding the struggle.
Yeah.
Mexicans today, I'm talking about young people, the new generation, understand because we all commingle with each other. What we're speaking of is just the mindset of those that are still running certain stuff in certain places and high places. These are the old heads. And they're going to die off one day. If enough money can't pay for them to keep living and having the same mindset and putting that structure in our society. And I tell them all the time, if you still practicing racism, you still got a problem with Mexican, you still got a problem with blacks, you got a problem with any other race. You know what I'm saying? If you got a problem with that, you got that old type of mentality like that, I believe when you cross over to the next life, I think my ancestors gonna beat the shit out of you.
They still got sundown town. They still got sundown towns. When I was driving out there to Texas, they're like, "Hey, you better hurry up and get up out of here, because if they catch you here driving at night, you going to jail, or are they gonna kill you? Either you're gonna die or you're going to jail."
It's a certain mindset still out there, but the world is still evolving. We might not be where we want to be, but we damn sure ain't where we used to be. So I see evolution within the system. You know what I'm saying? It's still a whole lot of injustice going on. And you broke it down earlier. I love that, man. But people are wiser now.
A lot of people don't and I don't really want to get into it, but like that's why I was asking you earlier if you knew about trust law, because I'm becoming a private citizen, a private national citizen, not a sovereign citizen, private national. You see, a lot of people think they have rights. If you are an American citizen, the Constitution does not apply to you. It doesn't. All right, just want to let you guys know.
No, thank you. No,
you know what I mean? And that's a real fact, bro. It's a real fact. And you being, a pastor, well, not even you
I'm a
practice
believer.
All religions. Practice
I'm a
of all
believer.
religions.
Yeah.
We have to understand God's will, and God's will, God gave you a mouth. God gave you the will to talk. And a lot of people stop talking. A lot of people stop standing up. A lot of people fuck me. Like I don't get it, because in this life that we live, it wasn't like that. Yeah. Like back in the day, 50 years ago, our parents used to, their parents, they used to stand up. People aren't standing up no more. Wow. What we're going through today is because nobody wants to stand up anymore.
I think we've seen that for a long time, but I think people are starting to now. You see these no king marches. You see these people that are protesting against ICE when they're coming in to come get somebody out their home. In different cities, I've seen, even in Minneapolis, there was the whole community came out to make sure that they wouldn't be able to take this family away. So I think it just starts with
But
the
that's
people
every
that
once
stand
in a
up.
while. You have to
New
think about how
generation,
many
Yeah,
people
like what he
did-
said, the
did-
younger generation.
They done looking at, and first of all, they commingling, and so in the next 15 to 20 years from now, it's gonna be a lot of mulatto kids, and what I mean by that is just hybrid. We call them hybrids.
I got mulatto
in
kids.
20 years, you know, the
mindset gonna be different.
They took cursive out of school. So in 20 years, kids won't even go ask a kid right now, hey, give me your signature. He's gonna print out his signature because they
Race
don't know
ain't
how
gonna
to
be
do
an issue.
cursive. But you know
typing.
what that means though? That means that people won't know knowledge from back in the day. They won't be able to read the scriptures of what happened at the beginning of time because it's all in cursive.
You won't be able to read, not even those, but you won't be able to read the Constitution.
Wow.
Hello, but hey, man, I want to thank you guys so much for your insight, for this conversation. I hope you guys got something to take away from this, and I also hope you weren't offended. And if you were offended, man, I hope you grow up and you get some development to find out what it was that actually triggered you to work on that.
Yeah.
I want to thank you for your time, Dooney the Priest. I want to also thank Pastor Eli. I also want to thank So Gotti. And, man, we want to thank Big Homie. Thank you for tuning in to Off the Grid Network, man.
Yeah.
Shoo.